So this keyword was our last topic, right? And also I have explained some of the information about one property in object-oriented programming, that is polymorphism. But like this keyword, today I want to explain another keyword that is known as super keyword. So S is in small. So remember this point, in Java, the keywords will start with lowercase. So this is our topic of discussion. But today we have to discuss some hybrid topic, means whatever information I have provided to you all about polymorphism, those are partial information. Means polymorphism is not yet completed. And also the concept of runtime and compile time polymorphism is not yet finished. So main reason of incomplete information about polymorphism is this polymorphism property is again dependent on another property of object oriented programming, and that property is known as inheritance. Also, whenever I'm going to define this super keyword is also dependent on the property inheritance, right? So these are the two topics which are totally dependent on inheritance in Java. So I will start today's class from the topic inheritance. So what is this inheritance in Java in one word? So it's a very simple logic, that is inheritance in Java is specifically act as a mechanism in which one object acquires the property and behavior of the parent object. Now, how this inheritance will look like? See, whenever I'm talking about a class, say this is our general class. Say the class name is A. So it means I'm going to write class A. And then we will write some main class, like say class B, and inside this main class we will write public static void main string args. And here we will create at this point of time object of class A. But inheritance means at this point of time we have more than one class, and the additional class is connected with this class. Means whenever we have this kind of scenario, that is A is a class and we have another class B which is connected with this class A, and then we have our main class. And say here at this point of time the architecture will look like, say the main class name is M. So this architecture or this block diagram can be represented as class A. See, this class A is not connected with any other class before it. So I will write just class A, then code here, and see class B is connected with class A. So how this connection can be represented? So this class B, it's a new class. So I will write class B which is connected with class A. So class A is already defined. So I will just write the name of the class. And how this connection in Java will be represented? This connection will be represented with a keyword which is known as extends. So whenever you write extends keyword means B, class B is extending the properties and the behavior of class A. Means whichever method, whichever variable I will write inside this class A, each and every variable, each and every method will be reused by this class B. So extending means whatever thing we have inside class A, all those property is coming through this pipe into the class B. And how to define the main class? See, main class is not connected with class A or class B. So I will just write after this line class M, which is a main class. right? So here, according to our discussion, now it is clear that we are learning inheritance in Java, and inheritance means we will have more than one class and those class will be connected with each other. Now I am coming to the technical part in more details. So whenever I am talking about inheritance, there is three terms which is totally related with this concept of inheritance. So now what are these three terms? So let me draw the block diagram again. Say we have one class, say A, and then a class is connected with this class A, which is known as B, and then we have main class. And try to understand, since main class is already there in each and every code, in the block diagram no need to represent the main class, right? So here the first point is the lowermost class, which is inheriting the property of the upper class. This lower level class is known as derived class or subclass, and the upper level class is known as superclass. And this connection in Java is established by extends keyword. So I have already explained this one. So this block diagram will look like this. So it's a very simple information and you will find this information anywhere. But what is new over here? So class B is extending, means extends class A. So class A is already defined. So I will just use the name of the class. So this is how architecture will look like. But the first question is, what kind of relationship we can achieve from this inheritance? Here the point is, inheritance is used to represent easy relationship. In database management system, you will have the same concept. So the first concept you have to understand that inheritance represents easy relationship, which is also known as parent-child relationship. Now, what is this easy relationship is all about? Say, I have one very simple example. Say I have one superclass and say name of the superclass is say EMP or employee. And I have one variable say salary and which is of type say float. Say this is your superclass. Here EMP is the superclass. And now say I have one subclass and say the name of the subclass is programmer. And here in this subclass, I have one variable that is say bonus and it is of type integer. So now what is the concept of easy relationship? Here I can say that in this block diagram, see this block diagram over here. Here programmer is the subclass and EMP is the superclass. And the relationship between these two classes is easy relationship, means programmer is a type of employee. So from this diagram, I can say that programmer is a type of employee. So that's why whenever I use this kind of block diagram, when we have more than one classes and the classes are connected with each other with extends relationship, then the first thing you have to understand, the methods and the variables that we have in the superclass, it is coming via this connection into the class B. And also this kind of relationship represent easy relationship, means B is a type of class A, right? So programmer is an employee. So this is how this relationship will be represented. But there are other two terms which is related with this concept of inheritance. One is known as generalization and the second term is known as specialization. Means if the question is asked to you that what is inheritance, everybody will answer like this: there will be one subclass, there will be one superclass, they will be connected with each other. So basically the subclass is inheriting the properties of superclass. No, the answer will be inheritance is something that depicts the concept of generalization, specialization, reusability, as well as is a relationship. All these four properties are coming together as say part of inheritance. So now I have to prove it. See, now I am going to prove the concept of generalization, the concept of specialization, and the concept of reusability. Means how all these terms are achieved in terms of inheritance, right? See, so using this single code, I will prove inheritance. I will prove all these properties, and I will also prove the easy relationship. And you will also able to understand what is the utility of extend keyword. Say, now according to the block diagram, say I will design one superclass A and I will design one subclass B. In the superclass, I will write one method as M, and in the superclass I will write say one variable as B, and in the subclass also I will define one method as M1, and I will also define one variable as B1. So these are the thing I'm going to design. So check this code carefully. Say I have one superclass. So why I'm writing class A? Because according to the block diagram, the superclass is not connected with any other class before it. So it's a simple class. So this is your superclass. So inside the superclass, say I'm just writing one method M, right? And say I need one variable in the superclass, that is B. So the superclass is done. Now we have to define the subclass. So it's a new class, class B. Now see the diagram. The class B is connected. This is the connection with class A. So this connection is represented by extends keyword. So now I will write class B extends class A. So since class A is already defined, so I'm just writing the name of the class only. So inside this class B, I'm just writing one variable B1 and one method. Say this one. And the method name is M1. And this is subclass, or you can say derived class. Simple coding. And this is the end of subclass. And now I am defining one main class. So this is main class. Now the first question that come in our mind, that whichever programming we have done so far, all those programming will have only one class above the main class. But here we have two classes. And we know that here we have to create object of some class. So here the first question is object of which class should I create? Now here there is one very interesting point, that you have to create object of the subclass. Why? The basic concept is, consider this situation as a pipe situation. It's a pipe. So according to the logic of inheritance, whichever method and whichever variable you have inside the superclass, it is automatically copied inside the subclass. And this copy is known as implicit copy. Implicit copy means internally all these things will be copied here, right? So as a result, according to this diagram, whatever we have in the class A, everything is there in class B, and also class B is containing their own method and own variable. So as a result, in one point I can say that due to this extends keyword, class B is containing everything. Everything means content of class A as well as content of class B. So it is enough if I create object of class B only. So it's a very basic concept of inheritance. Means by using this object of class B, I can call the method of class A. I can call the method of class B. Also, I can assign values in the variable of class A. So here B is the variable inside class A. I can assign value here using the same object, and also I can assign value to the variable of class B also. So in one word, this is the first step, that whenever I am talking about inheritance, we have minimum two classes where the subclass will be connected with the superclass. And due to this connection, class B will have the content of class A and content of class B, right? So the first conclusion is creating the object of the subclass is enough. By using this object, I can access everything. So this is the first conclusion. So now I will save this file. So the name of the main class is aim. So the first conclusion is done, that creating object of the subclass will give me the output of the superclass and as well as the subclass. Now if you want to see the output of the variables, then you have to make another print statement. So where to use this print statement, I will tell you. But before that, how could I prove that whatever component we have in the superclass, everything is copied inside the subclass due to the existence of extends keyword? We know this concept, but how could I prove it? That is, this variable and this method is already there in the subclass. Because according to my discussion, they are internally copied, but I have to prove it. So what I can do a simple thing. See, so I'm just not using these lines for the time being. Say here I am assigning one value, say 10. And here say I'm assigning one value, say 20. Now I'm going to prove what? I'm going to prove that this part is already there in class B. How? So inside this class M1, what I will do, I will just write B plus B1. Why I am doing this? See, this B is already defined in class A, but here the variable B is not defined. Without defining the variable B, what I am doing, I am just writing the variable B. Try to understand, this is your subclass and this is the scope of your subclass. And within this bracket, I haven't defined the variable B, but I am using it for some calculation. So if there is no error, then it will be proved that whichever B is written here, Due to the existence of extends keyword, it is coming automatically here. See, 30. 10 plus 20 means without defining B inside the subclass, I can still use it. So this is the beauty of inheritance, right? So I have already proved that due to the existence of extends keyword, it is coming here. But what do you mean by generalization and specialization? See here. It is a very important point. So whichever variable we have or whichever method we have, they are coming over here. Means subclass can use them. So it is known as generalization. Means whatever variable method we have in the superclass, they can be used by the subclasses. And this concept is known as generalization, and generalization will create the concept of reusability. A variable of the superclass can be used twice or thrice depending on the number of superclasses in their subclasses. And what do you mean by specialization? Specialization means the reverse is not true. Means whichever variable we have in the subclass or whichever method we have in the subclass, they cannot be used by the superclass, right? So this is known as specialization. Means whichever property we have in the subclass, it is its own property, right? So that's why it is known as parent child relationship. So property of the parent will be inherited by the child, but the property of the child never be inherited by their parent. So this is the concept of specialization. So now I have one important question after this discussion. Here we are creating object of the subclass because everything is copied inside the subclass. It is generalized. But still, is it enough to create object of the subclass always in case of inheritance? Means, is there any situation where we have to create the object of the superclass or it is useless? So let's check out one situation. So what I am going to prove? So now I am going to prove a situation where we need to define the object of the superclass also. What is that situation? Say, now here instead of printing superclass, say here I am just printing B, right? And here I am not passing the value of B. Here also I am not passing the value of B1. So what I am doing, I am just passing the value of this variable from the main class. So this kind of value passing is also there. So I can write object name dot variable name and then the value that I want to assign. So now see the situation. So if I execute this code, what will happen? See, it is giving 10 because the value of the B is 10 and it is printing 10, and then it is printing 32. Why it is printing 32? Because B plus B1, 22 plus 10, that is 32. Now see, so it means from here it is proved that I am using B twice, the variable B twice, right? One in the superclass and one in the subclass. How it is possible? It is possible because of the property which is known as generalization, right? Variable of the superclass can be used inside the subclass. So I'm using this variable twice. But here see the problem. Here the problem is in both the cases I am getting the value of B as 10, same value. But in real life scenario, generalization means what? I can use the variable twice or thrice. But it may happen that I need different values of the B. Why should I use same value of the B? Right? This B is used for one purpose, this B can be used for another purpose. So I don't need same value all the time. So what I can do at this point of time? So here my point is, the biggest question in Java is when we need to create object of the superclass. See, in case of inheritance, it is not required at all, but it's a special case that I am defining. So what is the case? When generalized variable needs to have different values. So how can I implement this? Say, at this point of time, what I will do, I will create one object of class A also. Why I need this? Now what I will do, say for this case, I need the value of B as 50. So what I will do, I will just write OB1. OB1 means object of class A. Dot B means this variable. And I need the value as 50. And here OB dot B means here OB is the object of class B and dot B means in this case I need value as 10. Now let's check what will happen. I don't know whether it will work or not. See what it is giving. Here it is giving the value of B as 10, no difference. So how could I change this one? See, whatever value I have passed, it is not reflected in the output. Why? Because now we have to understand we have a separate object of class A. So whenever I am calling the method of class A, again it is our responsibility to use the same object. So here instead of calling ob.m, I have to write ob1.m. Now the code will understand, okay, this method must be invoked with the object 1, means object of class A. It means it has to use the value of the B which is passed through this object OB1. So at this point of time, let's execute the code again. See, now it is reflected. So what is our conclusion? So I'm doing one thing. Say here I'm also printing the value of B and check the values of B. See, in one case the value of B is 50 and in another case the value of B is 10. So here the point is whenever you have some generalized variable, means where the variable of the superclass is reused in the subclass, and if you need different values for the generalized variables, at this point of time, you need to create object of the superclass. Otherwise, if you need same value for the generalized variable, then no need to create the object of the superclass. Right? So this is the special case of inheritance. So this is the first concept and you have to be very clear about this concept. Now, I have proved that variables can be generalized. But now I have to prove again the method can also be generalized, right? Means extends keyword can copy the variable as well as the method of the superclass. How can I prove it? So now in this case, what I will do, I can write one simple code. That is, say in the superclass, I have one variable b and one method a. But in the subclass say by mistake, I have given the same name like this, m and m, right? So now what will happen? Let's check. See what will happen. Now I am going to define one situation. Say, so now this is the condition, that is, in the superclass I have one method, that is m, and in the subclass also by mistake I have written the same method name m, and I have created object of the subclass, and then I'm just calling the method m. So there is two m methods, so I'm just calling ob.m and ob.m. Both the method I'm just calling. Now check what will happen. See the output. See, I have printed both the m method, but unfortunately only the last output or the lowermost output of the method is visible. See, the output is subclass and subclass. So it is only displaying the output of the second method or the method inside the subclass B. Why? So my question was, can I prove that methods are also generalized? Means whichever method I have in the superclass, it is already copied in the subclass. Yes, I can prove it. Since this method is already copied implicitly due to the existence of extends keyword, so as a result, at this point of time, these two methods are colliding. So one method is replacing another method. So as a result, output of the subclass method is only visible. Now you can ask me one question, why it is not displaying this method only? So here try to understand, there is one common sense, that is when we override something, so I'm just writing A, then I'm just telling you, okay, sorry, it is not A, it should be B. Which one is more prominent? The second letter is prominent. So here also, whenever I'm writing the same method name, the second method is more prominent, means the output of the subclass, the recent method, is visible. So if I call this method twice or thrice, each and every time it will understand that I'm calling the same method. I'm calling the method of the subclass. So this is a problem. So generalizing the variable is good, but whenever I am going to generalize the methods of the superclass, it is not good, because whenever I am going to reuse this method in the subclass, then only one output is visible. So this situation is known as method overriding. So this is known as method overriding. Now there is one question. Okay, you can do one thing. You just create object of the superclass. Simple. And then you try to call it. So here I will write ob1.m and ob.m, right? Now I will try to execute it and try to see the output. See, both the output are visible. So now I will tell you one point. See, why I am not doing it. The first thing you have to understand, today we are learning inheritance. And why programmers do inheritance? Because it wants to save some code complexity. How? try to understand, whenever we create object, it will acquire more memory, because I have already explained that creating object means I am dynamically allocating memory address to this object pointer. So it is taking additional space. So actual motto of the inheritance is we have to use less number of object. How we can reduce it? That's why this extends keyword comes into the picture, right? So always we will try to avoid creating object of the superclass. It's better if we create object of the subclass only. Then the memory space will be saved. And this is one of the good feature about inheritance. But one thing, yes, it is right. That is, whenever method overriding occurs, you can solve this problem by creating object of the superclass. But then the interviewer will ask you the question, whenever you are creating an additional object, it is taking more memory. So it is a wastage and time complexity is increasing. So do you have any other solution where this overriding problem can be solved without implementation of additional memory? So I have one solution. So try to understand here, though creating additional object can save the problem of method overriding, but only solving the problem of method overriding is not always the motto. So we have to save the memory also. So at this point of time, the best option is to use the keyword, because whenever you are defining any keyword like this super, they will not require any additional memory space. They are just a reference, and object reference will not take any memory. So the problem of method overriding can be solved using one keyword that is known as super keyword. And since it is a keyword, it does not need any additional memory. Why? It is just a reference. So now the question is, okay, so according to my discussion, if I use super keyword, then the problem of method overriding will be solved. Means I can able to see the output of both the method with the same name. Fine. But the next question is, where should I use super keyword? Now I am giving you one statement. So super keyword is always used to invoke the super classes method. So that's why the super keyword must be written inside the subclass. This is the first point. Super keyword never be written inside the superclass, because super keyword means I am calling the upper level method. So super always written inside the subclass. But where? Now the statement is super must be the first executable statement in the subclasses method. Means inside the subclass, whichever method you have to write super keyword as the first executable statement inside this method. Why? I will tell you. So here you have to write super dot. So why you are using this super keyword? To call the method of the superclass. So you have to write super dot, then the name of the method of the superclass. So if you perform this thing, no need to call this method twice. You just create object of the subclass and then call this method once. So what will happen? Let's check. See, the problem is solved. Previously the problem was also solved, but I have wasted memory space. So here I have used one memory reference super to call the superclasses method. So we understood that to solve the problem of method overriding, we have to use super keyword. But the question is, why super must be the first executable statement in the subclasses method? What if I use this keyword here? Is it some kind of error? Let's check. because syntactically it is correct, but there is no error. But see the output. Here, if you write the super keyword not as a first executable statement inside the subclasses method, then first the output of the subclass will come and then the output of the superclass will come. See, technically it is correct, but programmatically and conceptually it is not correct because I'm talking about inheritance, and inheritance will follow some hierarchy like this. First we will have the superclass output and then we will have the output of the subclass. So we have to maintain this hierarchy. That's why whenever you study the concept of super keyword, always it will be written that try to use super keyword as the first executable statement inside the subclasses method. Then the hierarchy of the superclass and subclass will be maintained, though there is no error. So that's why this property you have to keep in mind, that is super must be the first executable statement in the subclasses method, right? So this thing you have to keep in mind. So this is the solution of method overriding. But now there is several question that is hidden in this code. The first thing is, in the previous lecture I have explained that whenever we have method with the same name but they are doing different activity, it is known as polymorphism. See, here also polymorphism appears. That is, we have the same method name but they are performing different kinds of activities. So it is also polymorphism. But what is the difference? In the previous discussion, I have mentioned that whenever within a single class we have more than one method with the same name but different parameter signature, it is known as method overloading. And the return type of the method does not matter. It may be same, may be different. Now check here. Here what happens? The method names are same, but both the method exist in two different classes. One in the superclass and another one in the subclass. So this is the first change. Second change, see here, the parameter types are also same and the return types are also same. So is it a polymorphism? My answer is yes, it is a polymorphism, though method names are same. So what kind of polymorphism it is? Because in case of polymorphism, we have to know that the parameter signature must be different. See, try to understand. So that's why in case of Java, we have two kinds of polymorphism: runtime polymorphism as well as compile time polymorphism. Now, some of the students are thinking that, okay, I think it is a runtime polymorphism. No, it is also a compile time polymorphism. So now let me explain this thing one by one. So the first question is, what is method overriding? So now the definition will be, when the method names are same, the parameter signatures are also same and the return types are also same, but both the method exist in two different classes, one in the superclass and another one in the subclass. So as a result, what will happen? Only the output of the subclass will be visible. Output of the superclass will never be visible because output of the subclass will override the output of the superclass. So this is the concept of method overriding. And how we can solve this problem? So remember this point, method overriding is a problem. So to solve this problem, we have to use super keyword. And super must be the first executable statement in the subclasses method. Now let me execute this code again. So what if the parameter signature of both the method differs? Or what if if the return type of this method will differ? So try to understand, in case of method overloading, the parameter signature must be different and return type may be same, may be different. But in case of overriding, forcefully I am telling that no, in order to perform method overriding, the parameter signature must be same and also the return type must be same. But why I am enforcing this? So now let me prove this one first. So now I'm performing method overriding. So in this case, what I am doing, I am just changing the parameter type. So here I am taking one variable, right? And here I am printing that variable. And here I am not passing any variable, right? So this is the code. And here I'm just calling the method of class B. And now here you have to try to understand, while calling the method, whenever I am talking about ob.m, this is a method with no parameter, means it indicates this method. And whenever I write ob.m with some integer variable as a parameter, then it will understand that okay, I am going to call this method, right? So let me save this code first, right? So now let me execute this code. See, it is printing two outputs, subclass and 2. 2 means this one and subclass means this one. So the first thing, try to understand what is the first conclusion. What happens when the parameter signature of the overridden method differs? Means in case of method overriding, you have to keep in mind name of the method should be same, parameter signature should be same, return type should also be same. So here what I did, I have changed the parameter signature. So as a result, the output of both the methods are visible. So here the first conclusion is, whenever the parameter signature differs in case of method overriding, it will act like method overloading. Because try to remember, method overloading means within a same class we have more than one method and all the method will have different parameter signatures. So due to existence of different parameter, all the outcomes will be visible. But what was the definition of method overriding? Only one output is visible. One output of the subclasses method will be visible. So here the first question in the interview will be asked that when method overriding behaves like method overloading, the answer is when parameter signature differs in case of method overriding. So this is the first conclusion. So now we have to prove the second thing. So what will happen if the return type differs? So let me check. Say I'm just writing the return type as int. Now remember, whenever I'm writing return type as int, then system.out.println is not allowed here. So I have to write return keyword. Say return a. And now at the time of calling the method, so I have to assign it into a variable and the type of the variable will be int. And then I have to write system.out.println, and then we have to print this variable v in order to see the output of this method. Check this one. It's a very, very important one. So what will happen if the return type changes? See, try to understand. In case of method overriding, if the return type changes, then it is not acceptable. It will show some error. But what happens here? Here actually it is not a method overriding. Method overriding means the parameter signature must be same, right? So now try to execute this code. So here we have m, here we also have m. No parameter, no parameter, right? And now whenever we have no parameter, then what we can do? I'm just writing a new code so that you could understand. Say I'm writing a code like this. Say I have class A1, and here say I'm just writing one method m with no parameter. And here I'm just writing, see here I'm just printing one string. So this is the first method. Now see I'm just writing another class B1 that extends A1. Now I want to create method overriding. So I will write m and this one, right? But what I will do, I'm doing one thing, that is here I'm just giving one return type as int, right? And I am taking one parameter as a, and here I'm just printing that a. And since we have the return type, we have to write return keyword. So this is the first change. And here what I am doing, I am taking this one as float. And here I am taking another variable as float, right? And here what I am doing, I'm just writing return say b, right? And now say I'm just writing one main class, and since it is inheritance, so I will create object of b1 only. And then I'm just calling ob dot m and ob dot m with integer, and then ob dot m with float. Now here the first question is it an example of method overriding? So is it a example of method overriding? So here my point is, whenever you see the method with the same name but different parameter, so at this point of time it is no longer method overriding. It is a simple concept of method overloading. So whenever it becomes a method overloading, so at this point of time, the return type may be same, may be different, it does not matter. But what you have to keep in mind, just take a note, in case of method overriding, it is mandatory that the parameter signature and the return type both must be same. However, in case of method overriding, parameter signature different, return type may be same, may be different. So this is the concept you have to keep in mind. So what is my conclusion up to this point is that whenever we have method with the same name in two different classes, it does not imply that it is an example of method overriding. Then you have to check whether their parameter signatures are same or different. If the parameter signature changes, then it is no longer method overriding. It is just a concept of method overloading. And how you can prove it? Method overloading means both the outcome will be visible. So this is the classical example of not being method overriding, right? But method overriding is again an example of compile time polymorphism. Now ask me why? Because you are calling the method with the help of an object, and whenever you are calling the method, the problem of method overriding is solved by super keyword, and the super keyword is used as compile time. And also, whenever I'm talking about method overriding means it's a problem, only output of the subclass is visible. It means compiler will not be able to understand, distinguish between the two different methods. So according to the compiler, compiler will show the recent one. So method overriding is a problem, and this problem appears due to the existence of same method name and same parameter signature and same return type. So it's a polymorphism, and this problem is captured at the compile time. Fine. So that's why it is a compile time polymorphism. So again, method overriding is a compile time polymorphism. Method overloading is also a compile time polymorphism. So now the biggest question is, what is runtime polymorphism? This thing I have to explain.